I'm John Covington. I'm with the U.S. EPA Water Infrastructure Resiliency and Finance Center. I've been there since May of this year. The Water Center is a new agency created in January of 2015. Prior to that, I was for 7.5 years Executive Director of the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority, and in total had over 20 years with the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority. During that time, I worked with the EPA Clean Water and Drinking Water State Revolving Fund. KIA was the grantee for both of those programs and administered them within the state of Kentucky.
John, could you let us know about some of the federal resources and specifically the EPA resources that are available to states to help fund drinking water infrastructure systems?
Really the only program that EPA has to fund water and sewer infrastructure are the state revolving fund programs, the clean water and the drinking water. What most people do not realize is that those two programs constitute over 25% of EPA's budget and is the single largest line item in their budget. These programs are designed as loan programs. They give capitalization grants to each state to operate the program, and those states have run the programs on the state level and have flexibility to design those programs to address the needs of each individual state's needs. The other program that EPA anticipates having, it has been authorized but has not been funded, is the Water Infrastructure Innovation Act. Finance and Innovation Act. It's WIFIA, and everybody asks what's the acronym, and it's really you forget what the acronym is because everybody refers to it as WIFIA. And this program is being ramped up. It has not received an authorization, but it has received funding to create the administrative side and get prepared. Everybody is fairly confident that it will receive funding. And one of the things that make it attractive is that Congress can provide a lot of funds for loans with very little budget authorization. They anticipate that they will appropriate between $15 and $17 million to fund WIFIA, but with that $15 to $17 million, they will be able to fund between $2 and $4 billion in loans. And this is because of the the high quality of credit risk that water and sewer infrastructure provides. Very few water and sewer utilities default on loans. Across the nation, if you look at SRF programs that have a long history, up to 25 years of making loans to water and sewer utilities, any of those that have issued bonds to help fund that, they're all highly rated. Most of them, if not all, are AAA rated credits, and that has paid dividends in the amount of leverage that the federal government can generate in the WIFIA program.
Could you talk a little bit about the state revolving funds? How do they operate in each state, or are they each unique operations for each state?
As I said before, this is a somewhat unique program for the federal government in that it is an EPA program. It is governed both. The Safe Drinking Water Act and the Clean Water Act provide the general guidelines for how the program works. But each state administers the program inside the state. They are responsible for the program. How they set up the programs is different across states. Who actually gets the grants in the state? In some states, in Kentucky, where I came from, for example, the Kentucky Infrastructure Authority received the grant, not the Natural Resources Cabinet. Other states, Natural Resources administers the program. Some states, particularly on the drinking water side, the Health Department, State Health Department administers the drinking water. So each state has various combinations of how they administer the program. One of the great things about the SRF program is every state has different needs. You have to follow the general guidelines of the authorizing legislation, which for drinking water is public health, and for clean water is the environment. But if you follow those general guidelines in there, you can pretty much identify what is important in your state. Do You have to rank the projects every year, and you fund off your priority list. Every project that is funded has to be on a state priority list, but states can customize those priorities on the needs in their state.
What would be the one or two most important things you'd like to convey to state legislators about the nation's public water systems?
I think in our session today, and anything if you follow water very closely, obviously there's a funding gap. And at some point in time, everybody in a decision-making position that has the authority to address the problem is going to have to make a very clear-cut choice. Are we going to address the problem and fix the issue, or are we going to let it go? And basically people have made the decision that we can't afford to do this, so we're going to let it go. Well, what we're going to see is more issues like Flint. We're going to see on the clean water side the problem of algae blooms, of closed swimming areas. Even the problems with clean water, you don't think of them affecting drinking water, but they do, because drinking water source is that same water that outflows from wastewater treatment plants come from, or agricultural runoff. So you have to address those issues to protect your source water for drinking water. We have to make a decision of how we're going to pay for that. And eventually, it's either going to be the ratepayers or the taxpayers. It's going to be grants or loans, and grants are very difficult to find. We are going to have to make a decision. Are we going to raise rates enough to pay for addressing the environmental needs and the public health needs that we have in this country? And people, I think, if are educated on what it truly costs and what the real need is, are willing to make that commitment to our public water systems.
Well, on behalf of the National Conference of State Legislators, I want to say thank you for joining us today, Mr. Covington, and thank you for your time with us.
Thank you for inviting me. I've enjoyed being here.